national title this year, and we're on our way, and we're going to win this one.
Hi, I'm Doc Holliday. My predecessor was the fastest gun in the West. This weekend, we're going to be the fastest funny car on the strip.
Hi, I'm Scott Coletta. This is my home turf, and I'm going to win this one for the home fans.
Hi, I'm Ed the Ace McCulloch. The Ace is #1, and that's what I intend to be today.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tim Gross. I drive a fuel funny car for a living, and I intend to bury these guys today. There's nothing funny about these cars, believe me, so what?
Well, you've heard them talk about it. Now they're going to have to do it. Hi, everybody. This is John Lundberg at Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan, for the 14th running of the Motorcraft Northern Nationals. We're also in the great drought of 1988. It's been 102 degrees here. It's changed the whole dynamics of the way guys are setting up cars to run at this event, and believe me, they're being sorely tested. And here to talk more about what's going on in the preparation for this 1988 Motorcraft Northern Nationals is my partner, Bret Kepner. Bret?
Well, John, as you said, the drought and the temperatures have played a key role in qualifying here, but an early morning rainstorm is going to cool things off during eliminations. The numbers produced in qualifying, however, made a star of the Milan Dragway racing surface and the crew chiefs at this event. In top fuel qualifying, Gene Snow at 5.28 seconds is a new track record holder. The man who's been dominating this action in this class so far this year looks like another killer here. And in top fuel, 270 mile-per-hour speeds were produced by Jack Ostrander, another Michigan racer in the Jolly Ranchers Candies machine. In funny car eliminator, Dale Poldy and the Chief Auto Parts Old Cutlass Supreme leads the way with a track record tying 5.57 second run. And the top speed for the funny cars was produced by local racer Scott Coletta in front of his hometown crowd at 264 mile-per-hour pass in the Bounty Hunter. The pro stock action will be just as tough, with defending world champion Ricky Smith looking for another win. With cooler weather during eliminations, it should be an even faster event. And the third member of our broadcasting team, Pat Patterson, is in the pits.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Obviously, the weather is the major factor here today. Now, before we get started, we've got a crosswind blowing across the track. We've also got the temperatures, which have lowered down into the 70s, as you've already discussed. The man who is the quickest qualifier here in the funny car division is Dale Poldy with a 5:57. Speeds and temperatures, things will be different here than they were before.
Yes, they're going to be a little bit different. One thing that's going to be good overall is going to be a lot easier on the crews and the cars themselves with getting rid of some of this heat. It's been right close to 100 degrees for the last couple of days. It's pretty tough.
What do you have to do in between passes? Because the weather can be one way and 90 minutes later can come back out. Do you really have to calculate the weather that much, especially here at Milan?
I believe so. A lot of the cars have been used to running in some fair heat, and the track's been taking it pretty good, so we're going to just kind of let it go a little bit at a time here and see what happens.
The number 8 qualifier at 5.64 against the number 1 qualifier at 5.28.6, Gene Snow.
Gene Snow has been just about unbeatable in top fuel racing this year, John, and earlier Pat Patterson had a chance to talk with the Snowman.
What's the secret behind Gene Snow's snowman and snowball effect and success this year? Well, part of it's got to do with this state-of-the-art, very, very different, one-of-a-kind type of drive systems you got. Gene, tell me about the system and how you designed it, and of course it's worked very well.
Okay, what we have here, of course, we got the engine and the clutch. Inside here is a centrifugal clutch. Usually, right in this area is a transmission, a 2-speed transmission. We've taken that out and just put the reverser. This lets the car back up without having to be pushed backwards. And all of the energy of the car leaving the starting line is handled through the clutch right through here. It has 5 stages. It applies a little bit at a time, and we've been lucky to build enough horsepower to where it doesn't need the transmission. Therefore, it's very, very consistent.
Nobody else is doing this. Is it because there's something about this particular system that you've had to develop and only you know about, or are there other people trying to do it?
Well, the truth is there are a few more of them around. Just no one's had the success we have. Right here at this very racetrack, Bill Mullins has got one in. And he's a good friend of mine, and we work together a little bit. But Joe Amato tried his last week. There's a few guys trying them now, and they're starting to work real good. It just takes one more link out of the chain that could break and give trouble. Very, very consistent.
Snow comes into the quarterfinal round of Top Fuel Eliminator with an 83% win average in round racing in the last 12 IHRA events, Bret. This is going to be a barn burner. Mullins has chosen quite a competitor.
Well, both machines using direct drive transmissions. That's unusual. It's the first time it's happened in many, many years. Mullins moves into stage. The tree goes to green, and Mullins leads beautifully, but look at Gene Snow pull away. Unbelievable run within 100th of a second of that new track record from qualifying. 5.29 seconds at 239 miles per hour. And here is the Cable Value Network machine, but unusually enough, John, it's not being driven by Dennis Forcell.
Yes, Dennis Forcell suffered a very bad case of heat stroke at an event about 3 weeks ago in Ohio and has chosen to sit out this drag race just recovering. So he's tapped veteran dragster and funny car pilot Glenn Micris to qualify the Cable Value Network car, and he's done very well with a number 3 spot at 5:41, and he's going to be racing trucking company owner Rudy Topke.
Topke driving the only professional category machine from the state of Arkansas. Surprise qualifier here. They leave the starting line, and Topke begins to stretch out a lead. He is on a run. Topke runs 1/100th of a second quicker than Gene Snow and breaks Snow's track record. 5.28 seconds at 270 miles an hour. Now here's Conrad Colita, the bounty hunter. And during qualifying, Connie had an awfully scary situation. While going through the finish line lights against Jack Ostrander in the near lane, the wing collapsed. And when the wing broke, indeed the right wing strut went right through the right rear drag slick. Colita had everything he could do to keep the car under control. As you can see, John, it was an incredible ride.
Colita has tremendous upper body strength, Bret, and I think that, plus the fact that he started his driving career 30 years ago, about 40 miles from this location, pulled it out. He just absolutely wrenched that car straight, kept it right side up as that very unusual incident occurred. And here he backs in against John Kerry, who's having a very good 1988 season as far as he's concerned. Kerry has found a measure of consistency. He's number 5 qualifier in the program here at 5:43 and is breaking a lot less parts. But look what he's running. He's running the veteran. 30 years of drag racing experience. The guy who probably does the most violent burnouts in top fuel drag racing today. Ready to go straight now, Conrad Colita.
Well, Colita qualified at 5:42 with the second fastest speed of the event at that point, 269 miles an hour. Bill Pike, the crew chief for John Cherry, signals that all is well with the Delaware-based machine in the near lane. The local veteran takes on one of the newcomers in the top fuel ranks. Both machines exceptionally capable, even in the hot air quality that we're dealing with here this weekend at the Northern Nationals. Colita will be the last one into stage. The second yellow light comes on, and the Christmas tree countdown begins. They leave the starting line. John Kerry with a slight advantage, and now Kerry drives away from Connie Colita. An elapsed time that is Kerry's career best, 5.34 seconds at 262 miles per hour. Dusts the bounty hunter.
Here comes another drag racing veteran from the state of Michigan, Jack Ostrander, who started his drag racing career in Super Stockers back in 1957. He's racing a guy who's suffering what might be called sophomore blues, Michael Brotherton, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and out of the chute they come. And it's Brotherton smoking his tires, and there goes Ostrander through the quarter mile. He lifts the blower, bumps it sideways on top of the car, and wins at 5:38. And here we see it again at the finish line. He bangs the supercharger, literally blows it apart, a little nitro fire, nothing serious. Notice that the fire is burning on top of the engine, and there goes the drag chute, or the pop chute, excuse me, which launches the main chute. He did not change his game plan. The veteran understands his job now is to get the fire out and slow the car down, and there we see, looking through a ventilated supercharger, a $10,000 incident puts Jack Ostrander in the pits on a between-round heavy crash.
And, John, it's interesting to know that Jack Ostrander has very little time to make repairs. He's obviously got to replace the supercharger and any more damage that may have occurred on that run. We'll be back with action from Milan, Michigan at the Motorcraft Northern Nationals with funny car action next.
Motorcraft Northern Nationals, Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan, John Lundberg, Bret Kepner, and Pat Patterson. And now it's funny car time, the quarterfinals, Bret.
The ground-pounding 3,000 horsepower supercharged nitro-burning machines get ready for their first round. And here is the hottest driver in this category this year. The Ace McCulloch has won 2 national events so far this season in the Miller High Life Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. And he's against this young man, Darrell Amberson, in the Ambition Corvette. Now, Minnesota racer Amberson has been seen on IHRA ESPN coverage this year in the Ted Combus Pontiac Trans Am. But Combus has elected to drop out of the sport, and Darrell is driving the car he purchased from partner Hugh Monroe at the end of last year, John.
So they stage ready to race down the quarter mile. McCulloch, number 3 in the program at 5:62. Amberson in the program at 5:8. 1800ths of a second separate the cars as they now stage. McCulloch taking his time at the starting line. Amberson in and ready. Now time to drag race green light. Out of the chute they go. It's a beautiful roll. Amberson annihilates the top of his engine. McCulloch wins. McCulloch's winning a lap time, 5:75 and 2:44. Amberson, a very expensive and early afternoon.
Well, McCulloch slows down about 1/10 of a second from his qualifying pace, but the performance is still there. Dale Poldy in the near lane and the Chief Auto Parts. Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme will take on veteran match racer Doc Holliday. The driver finished number 2 in the World Championship last year, John, with the Telstar Dodge Daytona.
They stage to move. Poldy, a former IHRA World Champion in funny cars, against the number 10 last year. They're out of the gate. Time 5:62, 258.84. Halliday out in the first round. And here comes the Motorcraft funny car of world champion Mark Oswald, driving for Candies and Hughes, Bret.
Well, the defending IHRA World Champ had his problems in qualifying here. Qualifying uncharacteristically at number 4 spot at 5.67 seconds, although it was only 1/10 of a second off the pace. Here's R.C. Sherman in the Raybestos Clutches Olds Forenza. The well-worn body that has been on this machine for so long actually came apart during Saturday qualifying when the exhaust header gases caught the fiberglass and blew the side of the car right out. But, John, it's interesting to note that in all the horrendous things this car has gone through at ESPN this year, this is finally the last race for the Raybestos Forenza they call Frankenstein. It will be replaced by a new Olds Cutlass Supreme at our next event.
R.C. Sherman takes on world champion Mark Oswald in the Motorcraft Quality Parts Ford Thunderbird at Milan, Michigan. They're out of the gate. Sherman falters, and there goes Mark Oswald. A beautiful pass. Mark Oswald's time of 5:52, a new track record at 256 miles per hour.
Well, it seems like the Motorcraft team is still on top of things. And here is one of the most beautiful Ford Thunderbird body machines you will ever see. Eric Reed from California, one of the few black Americans in funny car racing, John.
Eric Reed owns a chain of convenience stores in Southern California. They're doing very well, so he goes drag racing, and look who he's going to race. Scott Kalita, the second-generation funny car driver from nearby Belleville, Michigan. It's going to be a good one, Bret.
Well, Kalita's 264-mile-an-hour speed in qualifying indicated he has got more power than normal with his Oldsmobile Forenza in the near lane. Center stage, the green light comes on. Kalita boils the tires. He stays in the throttle, though. Reed right with him, but Kalita wins by a half a car length. 0.02 of a second, 6:04 to 6:06. What a drag race!
It looks like the predecessor to the funny car, fuel-altered racing for Scott Kalita. He's hard on it. Reed starts to lose an engine, almost catches him, and Kalita wins. We'll be back with Pro Stock Drag Racing from the Northern Nationals in just a few moments. Motorcraft Northern Nationals, Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan. John Lundberg, Bret Kepner, and Pat Patterson. And coming up the stage now, we're going to have Kenny Koretsky in the beautiful Exxon Superflow Chevrolet Camaro sprinting down the quarter mile with Charlie Garrett.
An all-Pennsylvania battle, and Kenny Koretsky has been on a roll this weekend. In fact, he recorded a couple of 7.3-second runs in testing. He's up against Charlie Garrett, and they leave the starting line, and the whole shot goes to Kenny Koretsky. A tremendous starting line launch, and the white Camaro drives on by. 7.55 seconds to a losing 7:60, and Kenny Koretsky goes to the semifinal round for the Exxon sponsors.
Well, he's got a happy crew now. Here comes Ricky Smith, the world champion. What can you say about this guy? 704 cubic inch big block Ford running at his home track, and a guy he faces is Larry Morgan. I certainly wouldn't like to be in Larry Morgan's shoes on this round.
Well, the Bob Pinella Castrol GTX Oldsmobile is certainly a strong runner, but Ricky Smith with 3 national event wins and a runner-up at a 4th event this year out of 6 races so far, literally is on top of the World Championship standings. They leave the starting line, and the whole shot in this matchup goes to Larry Morgan, but Ricky Smith is going to do everything he can to drive around, and that was a drag race. 7:51 to 7:54, literally side by side at the finish line, John.
Bret, here's a 7:51 qualifier. The number 3 guy in the program, Warren Johnson, with his brand new AC Delco Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. First time at a drag race, first time on television. And you can see from the racer's tape across the nose of the vehicle in qualifying, Johnson literally blew the hood and front fender panels off this vehicle and has repaired them for the race. His competitor, we're looking at him right now, Oldsmobile Forenza, Don Campanello. They roll into stage. The two cars are 0.08 of a second apart, with Johnson the quicker of the two. Campanello in the far lane. Johnson, you're looking right down the hood of that brand new Cutlass Supreme as they bring the 500 cubic inch engines up there out of the gate. Campanello, a beautiful start, but here comes WJ. Horsepower time, and Warren Johnson wins. The elapsed time for the victor, 7:51 at 186. Campanello, 7:76, the runner-up.
And it looks like no parachute, or at least a tangled parachute for Campanello. He heads off the end of the racetrack into the safety sand trap. A wild ride. You can see the parachute fell out of the pack and got tangled up in the wheelie bars. But we understand that the car is A-OK, just a little dusty. John?
Here's Mike Fujita and Mark Pollock. Now, Fujita's car is driven by Harry Scribner, who is having the time of his life in pro stock drag racing this year. In fact, he's the #1 qualifier in this field at 7:48.7. Ohioan Mark Pollock is ready to race in the #9 qualifier in the program as he brings his Firebird into stage. They're out of the gate, and Scribner, as Hogg breaks on the line, makes a single pass down the quarter mile. Harry Scribner cycles into round number 2 with an elapsed time of 7:47 at 186 miles per hour.
Well, that will stand as the quickest elapsed time of the event, and Scribner's got problems stopping his car down there, sliding all over the shutdown area, finally making the last turn. Boy, there's more action down at the finish line, John, than anywhere else in this round.
Boy, I guess. We get a view of the sportsman staging lanes at beautiful Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan. We'll be back with Top Fuel and Funny Cars from Milan in just a few moments. Motorcraft Northern Nationals, Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan for Top Fuel Eliminator drag racing. And sure enough, we look at the side of the killer car in the class Gene Snow. And it looks like Snow is definitely upgraded his Amalie Oil sponsorship. Beautiful new uniforms grace the crew. And we look at John Kerry's starting process as the leading diesel mechanic in the eastern United States prepares to match Snow wheel to wheel in this, the beginning of the semifinal round of Top Fuel Eliminator, Bret.
Well, under normal circumstances, I don't think John Kerry would be considered in Snow's league, at least not at this point in Snow's career. However, remember, he ran a 5.34-second career best, winning the lap time of the first round. Kerry is actually a threat at this point to the Snowman. The machines move into the water burnout area. They will vigorously spin those massive Goodyear Eagles to get them warm and sticky for better traction. And if nothing else, it is one massive display of total horsepower, John.
And now it's John Kerry's turn to come boiling out of the tire smoke, and there he comes. The diesel mechanic on a roll, as Bret previously mentioned. However, Snow is trying to set the track record with every pass down the quarter mile. He set it in qualifying, ran within a 100th of a second of his own track record in the first round, and is going to try to go even quicker this time. Now, interestingly enough, Snow is almost back to the starting line, and Kerry isn't moving. Could it be that his reverser is locked up? Here comes an IHRA official over the fence to tend to the race car.
Sure enough, Bobby Cross, the track security director, and the new vice president of operations for IHRA, Bob DeVore, who himself is one of drag racing's better-known mechanics, are trying to assist Kerry in getting the car into a reverse gear by rocking it into synchronization in the gearbox. Apparently, Gene Snow will wait at least for a few minutes to see if Kerry can get back up to the line. Now he's starting to move into stage, and crew chief Chris Eckert behind him is ready to go. And finally, the IHRA officials send Kerry on through. They've got to, as Gene Snow is sitting on the starting line, burning gallons of nitromethane as we go here. So John Kerry receives an unfortunate break in a battle that he really could have made a dent in, John.
And the sportsman that he is, Kerry drives swiftly through the end of the quarter mile. Snow leaps out of the gate. Look at the flame out of the pipe. Snow goes 5:21. He lowers the track record by 0.07 of a second. Interestingly enough, at just 247 miles per hour.
I was just about to say, Gene has yet to break 250 in eliminations, and he only ran 258 in qualifying. Keep in mind, Snow has already run 282 this year. He's definitely got more power than he's letting on. Now, looks like Rudy Topke, the Arkansas rookie pilot, is going to get a single run as well. Jack Ostrander could not return after his fiery engine explosion in the first round, and Topke drives it through with an excellent 5:36 to make his first ever national event final round appearance. In fact, this is only about the 5th event that Topke's ever driven, and it looks like about 3 miles an hour too fast at the end of the track as Topke takes a very slow trip into the sand pit. He's obviously okay jumping out of the cockpit, and we're going to move right now into funny car action and determine our finalists in this category, John.
Boy, what a drag race coming up. The Motorcraft Quality Parts Ford Thunderbird of Candies and Hughes with a world champion Mark Oswald up, and Dale Pulte, former IHRA world champion, driving Billy Meyer's brand new, gorgeous Chief Auto Parts Oldsmobile. Both guys victorious in the first round.
And I should point out that while Pulte led qualifying with a track record 5:57, remember we saw Oswald break that track record with a 5:52 in the first round.
Dave Settles has finished his hand signals to driver Dale Pulte, as Oswald in the near lane already has the Candies and Hughes Motorcraft Thunderbird in the pre-stage beam. Pulte is ready. He'll advance first. Here he comes. Now Oswald ready to drag race. They're out of the gate. Holy smokes, the tires. Oswald gets the mid-course and shatters a rear. He coasts across the finish line. Gets there first, however. 6 seconds flat at only 178 miles per hour. Coasting off the end of the quarter mile, Mark Oswald goes into the next round. And here's Scott Kalita, second-generation drag racer. He lives about 14 miles from this drag race in Belleville, Michigan. Has qualified well and goes into the second round against Ed the Ace McCulloch.
Well, McCulloch has been the hottest driver of the year in this category with 2 national event victories. Scott Kalita has been in 1 national event final, the season-opening Super Nationals. They move in. The winner of this match will go to the final round against Mark Oswald. Staging ever so carefully, the Golden Miller High Life Oldsmobile, the last to stage. Now the tree goes to green. They leave the starting line beautifully, but again, smoke emanates from the machine in the far lane. And McCulloch will take an easy ride into the final round with the 6:14. Action will continue from the Motorcraft Northern Nationals in a moment.
Nationals from Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan. John Lundberg, Bret Kepner, and Pat Patterson bringing you the semifinals in Pro Stock Eliminator. And here we see Ricky Smith, the giant 704 cubic inch Ford-powered motorcraft, quality parts Ford Thunderbird, and look at his competitor. With the racer's tape across the nose of his brand new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, Warren Johnson. And what a battle this is going to be, Bret Kepner.
Well, this could indeed be the most intense battle in Pro Stock Eliminator, at least to this point. Normally, you might expect to see these 2 guys in the final round. In fact, we did see them in the final round at the IHRA Spring Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee. Indeed, it was a matter of where these drivers qualified. Ricky Smith was number 2 qualifier. Warren Johnson qualified number 3. Therefore, they meet in the semifinal round, and the winner will go on to the final championship battle. Ricky Smith is right now leading the Pro Stock points battle by a huge margin, and a win for the Motorcraft Ford in this matchup would displace not only Warren Johnson, but just about everybody else in the Pro Stock class for the season-long battle that is still up for grabs. Warren Johnson's incredible new Olds Cutlass Supreme has been amazing in its first ever drag race. Low 750s, matching Ricky Smith and even Harry Scribner, almost a 100th of a second on every pass. RPM's up with the 500 cubic inch Olds and the 700 cubic inch Ford. 300 pounds weight difference between the cars. They leave the starting line side by side, and it is a door-to-door battle all the way down. The advantage at the finish line goes to Ricky Smith by only 0.03 of a second, 750 to 753. The crew is jubilant as always, John, and Ricky goes to another final round.
The guy's incredible. He just goes fast enough to do what it takes. Undoubtedly, he's had his best race of the season, however, side by side with Warren Johnson. Here come a pair of Chevrolets. So it's going to be a classic Chevrolet versus Ford final here in Pro Stock Eliminator. Harry Scribner, the Mike Fujita car, against this guy. Kenny Koretsky driving the brand new Exxon-sponsored Superflow Chevrolet Camaro. Both cars are really ready to go for this drag race. In the previous round, Harry Scribner ran 7:47. Kenny Koretsky ran down a quarter mile at 7:55. They're 0.08 of a second apart, Bret.
Well, it's interesting to note that Harry Scribner is the only car in this race that's been in the 740 zone. He's been leading Ricky Smith and Warren Johnson by 2 or 300ths every single round. Koretsky's only hope in this matchup, based on Scribner's incredible consistency, is a hole shot. He's got to leave the starting line ahead of the yellow Camaro if he wants to remain competitive in this race. They leave the starting line, and the reaction time advantage goes to Koretsky. An unbelievable reaction time. They are door-to-door all the way. That was one of the closest races we've seen all year long. Scribner wins at 7.51 seconds. Now look at the reaction time here in the replay. Kenny Koretsky leaves the starting line 0.07 of a second after the green light comes on, John.
And Harry Scribner's job make up a 67,000th of a second hole shot. And it's not going to be an easy job if he can bring it off. Scribner starts to move. He's still behind. They're side by side at this point. It's incredible. Wheel to wheel all the way to the finish line. Here comes Scribner. He's just past him. Scribner wins by 0.18 of a second.
Unbelievable battle, and one of the most unbelievable pieces of equipment at this race is one of the many nitrous oxide injected top sportsman machines. This is Michael Martin's All-Pro Auto Parts Corvette, 195 mile per hour full-body Corvette. And here to bring us this week's Quaker State Quick Fact is Pat Patterson in the pits. This Quick Fact is being brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
One of the big questions all year long with the IHRA circuit is the top sportsman cars and the incredible speeds they're hitting this year. The man who's standing with me right now is the man who has the secrets to the need to speed, Mike Thermos. And Mike, obviously, there's a reason why they're going faster, and it's nitrous. Tell me about the program and how it works for these cars.
Well, nitrous oxide is an oxidizer for fuel. By injecting it into the motor, we can make tremendous amounts of horsepower and torque. That's just what these cars need. You can see speeds of over 207 miles an hour in Kuhlman's case, and ETs as low as 7 seconds flat. And we're tuning them up to try and get into the 6-second bracket as soon as we can get the tires to hook and stay on the track.
Let's talk a little bit about exactly how it all works. Explain this gizmo here. This is a manifold, obviously, and this is the system that puts the nitrous in. Tell me a little bit about and point out the areas, where the nitrous is injected into the manifold and how it works.
Well, this is essentially a NOS ProShot Fogger 2. And what it is a system that injects nitrous and fuel, because the fuel is what really makes the horsepower, not the nitrous oxide. The nitrous oxide simply oxidizes that fuel. And the red here is where the fuel comes in, and the blue is where the nitrous comes in.
Right.
Now, when this goes into the engine, it gives it a tremendous fogging effect, much like a perfume nozzle actually atomizes. This goes into the combustion chamber and lights with a lot more heat value, and energy comes out of that motor because of that. It's kind of a new wave to make horsepower.
One of the interesting new classes in IHRA 88 drag racing is factory modified small block pro stockers. Here are the top 4 qualifiers picking up their qualifying money, Bret.
That's true, John. These top 4 qualifiers, courtesy the Mr. Gasket Company and the Performance people, left to right, Dennis Mitchell, David Nickens, Cal Monkeys, and Todd Patterson are splitting $1,000, courtesy of Tim and Beth Hyatt. In the Factory Modified World Championship point standings, Cal Monkeys' Kansas Camaro still leads the way ahead of 5-time IHRA World Champ Dennis Mitchell, David Nickens, Rick Hord, and Randy Ross. The number 6 spot, Tim Freeman, the 19-year-old who won the Winter Nationals, Bill Puckett, Tom Sroof, another past world champ, Mark Osborne, and Ohioan Don Sokolowski. Now, those top 10 standings right now reflect the 8 quickest cars and the 2 alternates who will be eligible, at least at this point, for the factory-modified shootout sponsored by Mr. Gasket Company to be held September 30th at the Texas Motorplex in Ennis, Texas. Heads up, small block pro stock racing, only in IHRA Championship drag racing. And, John, as far as the sportsman divisions are concerned here at the Northern Nationals, we had an interesting situation in that we were hit with a rain shower. The one final round we did manage to get in was something we've seen so many times this year, the 790 category, of which Steve Cohen, you're looking at now in the far lane, and Johnny Cofield battled out. Now, Cofield actually created a technical foul for himself on the starting line and red-lighted because the car was too far over the starting line. But interestingly enough, while Steve Cohen has won his 4th IHRA National Event of the Year in this class, keep in mind these 2 have been in the 5 finals preceding this race.
And the finals will be run in conjunction with the Lone Star Racing Sports Nationals at LaRue, Ohio. The names you see in front of you now are those in contention, and they'll be racing at the Lone Star Racing Sports Nationals, Marion County International Raceway, an all-sportsman event run on the 5-generation Guthrie family farm in Central Ohio. The Lone Star Racing Sports Nationals, LaRue, Ohio. Coming up next, Motorcraft Northern Nationals funny car alcohol drag racing action. Northern Nationals, Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan. And you're looking right down the nose of the guy who is the current world champion in top alcohol funny car as we go into the final. This is Bob Newberry. And Bret, Newberry in qualifying set a brand new track record of 6:28 with this dynamite alcohol funny car.
It's true, and he improved to a 6:25 track record in the second round of eliminations in this 16-car qualified field. And Bob Newberry has apparently gotten rid of the problems that have stymied him at the beginning of the season. And when he gets back on top, he is always unstoppable. In fact, if we go back to the semifinal round, he took on West Des Moines, Iowa veteran Vern Moats in the Moats and Massey Dodge Daytona, one of the quickest machines in the history of this class at 6.12 seconds. As they moved into stage, Newberry was really at an edge here in an attempt to get back on track and prove that he could still battle with the best of them. From mid-track on, he drove away and was never threatened, running 6.27 seconds, but most importantly, tying the track speed record at 225 miles per hour flat.
Here's the current class killer in top alcohol funny car in the lighting and fans of Nashville, Sudden Pleasure Pontiac Trans Am, Del Valle, Texas-based Dal Denton. And it looks like Dal Denton at this drag race may be on his way to another win. In the semifinal round, he faced the Muling Engineering car of Al DiPozo, the guy they call Disposal. Let's see if he can dispose of this Pontiac Trans Am with his Oldsmobile Forenza. Not to be done. DiPozo gets a little sideways, and here comes Denton to the win at 6:33, 222 miles per hour.
So the final round matchup, therefore, was set up between the defending world champion and the man who certainly looks to be on his way to a world championship this year, Dal Denton. You have to remember that Dal Denton's Pontiac Trans Am, in 5 events of the 7 races completed so far in the IHRA Championship Series, has been in the final round. 3 national event wins, a runner-up at a 4th, and now, of course, this final round matchup with Newberry. And we should point out that Dal Denton's most serious threat in the World Championship point standings right now, Arnie Karp in the Mountain Dew-sponsored Boston Strangler Oldsmobile, went out in the very first round here this weekend, John. So Dal Denton has picked up a lot of ground towards a world title.
I guess if Dal Denton is going to nail this thing to the ground, what he wants to do at this point is just begin to race himself. And I think he's got to overcome in improving Bob Newberry to nail that thing down at this race right now.
Well, at this point, Denton has been running consistent 6.3 second elapsed times, but Bob Newberry's been right around 6 1/4 seconds on almost every pass down that drag strip. And like I pointed out, when Bob Newberry gets back on top, he is literally impossible to beat. He proved that last year when he won the World Championship at the very end of the season. They moved into stage now for the final round. The Top Alcohol Funny Car Wars, Texas versus New York. They leave the starting line in the Schenectady Oldsmobile. The bright yellow machine is right with Dal Denton and suddenly thunders past for a 6:28 to 6:37 victory, and Bob Newberry returns to the winner's circle for the first time in 1988. Dal Denton's runner-up moved him way out in front of Arnie Karp in the World Championship point standings, but Bob Newberry's win here put him number 4 in the points.
Hey, Bubba. Hell of a run.
Good run, Dal. Very good.
The intensity of the professional category pit area has got to be reaching a peak as we prepare for professional category final rounds.
Well, gentlemen, as you can see in the pit area, Ed the Ace McCullough prepares for his battle against Mark Oswald. If you think drag racing is somewhat of an easy sport, just one little pass down the straightaway, look at what goes on between these rounds. McCullough, a master of this division, been racing here a long, long time, and he's right in the middle of it with his crew getting ready for this next battle against Mark Oswald.
Meanwhile, in the Candies and Hughes Motorcraft Quality Parts Ford Thunderbird pit, Mark Oswald, the world champion, flashes the valves on his powerful Leonard Hughes-built Chrysler Hemi. We'll be back with the finals in Pro Stock and Funny Car Eliminator from the Motorcraft Northern Nationals after these Nationals. Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan. John Lundberg, Pat Patterson, and Bret Kepner, and it's Pro Stock Eliminator finals time. A classic confrontation, Bret, Ford versus Chevrolet.
And for one of the very few times in recent memory, Ricky Smith does not have the advantage. While his best elapsed time has been in the low 7.5 second range here this weekend, it is this beautiful yellow Camaro of the Mike Fujita team that has led the way with 740s.
Well, Harry, this is what you work hard for, is to get to the finals, and you drew yourself a tough one, Ricky Smith. What do you got to do to win here?
Well, just keep things organized and don't try to out-trick ourselves, and just get out there and cut a good light and beat him.
And over in the Ford camp, Ricky Smith knows this is going to be no easy final drag race.
A lot of racing's intimidation, and you got a guy beside you there that has not been there very often against you or against anybody in the finals. I think the intimidation factor is going to play well for you here?
Well, I hope so. You know, that's what you always hope, that some kind of little factor comes into the deal, and that's normally what wins a race. It's either a little mind game or a little something. You know, I'm not planning on playing any games with him. I'm just going to go race him hard. That's what I want to do, and the best man will win the thing.
The question is, how will Ricky Smith utilize his natural instincts to get around this newcomer in the Chevrolet? Smith moves in last to the Motorcraft Ford, and they leave the starting line, and Ricky Smith gets a whole shot that he needed. But Scribner is right next to him all the way down the drag strip. Almost impossible to tell who won, but Ricky Smith takes the victory. An incredibly close battle. I'll tell you, Harry Scribner was right there up the starting line, John, but Ricky Smith left the starting line 10,000ths of a second after the green light.
They get right to the finish line, and it's very close. Winner, Ford!
Unbelievable battle. And here's Pat with Ricky at the finish line.
Ricky Smith, congratulations. The Motorcraft Northern Nationals are yours. You're the winner in the Pro Stock division. Good time, too. 7:52, 187.26.
Made a good run, Pat. Had the car ready. We made some good runs today. It's been tough. It's probably the toughest race we had to run. Larry Morgan and Warren Johnson and Scribner here, them boys giving me some good runs today. And we're just proud to win here in front of Motorcraft and the hometown people here at Ford. So we're proud of this Motorcraft car.
The beat goes on. It's not like a shot in the arm towards now to the second half of the season. You started off hot, you're picking it up in the middle and going after it again.
It feels good, Pat. I just can't say no more.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And Ricky Smith at midseason winds up miles ahead of Warren Johnson by almost 4,000 points. Third is Glidden, then Tim Neighbors and Terry Adams. 5 races left in the 1988 IHRA Championship Drag Racing Tour. Here's Funny Car Eliminator as we look right at Ed the Ace McCulloch, current points leader in Funny Car Eliminator as he prepares for the final round.
Now, it's interesting to note, John, that Ed the Ace McCulloch and the Miller High Life Olds Cutlass Supreme and his opponent, Mark Oswald, McCandy's and Hughes Motorcraft Thunderbird, have both won 2 IHRA national events this year. If McCulloch or Oswald can pull this one off, it is going to really tighten up the Funny Car Championship. In fact, McCulloch stands a chance of gaining a substantial lead if he can overcome the power of Oswald. Obviously, plenty of power there, but remember, John, Oswald is the quickest car here.
And the thing that Oswald, I think, has got to worry about is, did they get the rear end properly prepared and repaired between rounds? If he breaks one now, it's all over but the shouting as McCulloch will launch himself into the balance of the 1988 season, as you've said, with a significant points advantage.
Well, they had to make the repair work on the broken rear end housing from the semifinal round, even though it came in a winning effort when opponent smoked the tires. Oswald still has to keep an eye out for McCulloch, as we've pointed out so many times this year. After his incredible Texas Motorplex performances of 5.25 seconds and 280 mile an hour at both ends of the IHRA records. Indeed, McCulloch and crew chief Bertie Federle know how to make horsepower on just about any surface. The Larry Monty Racing Team's Oldsmobile is going to give Oswald a handful.
There's no doubt about that fact, but I think what we're also going to see here is a Leonard Hughes and a Bernie Federle matchup in terms of tuning for the incredible changes in atmospheric and temperature conditions that have taken place here this afternoon. Well, we see the dry hop from both cars and no smoke off everybody's tires, so it looks like at least the drivetrains are set for the final round of Funny Car Eliminator. An incredible amount of intense psychodrama taking place here in the starting line at Milan. It's Motorcraft City, Motorcraft Drag Race, and the Motorcraft Quality Parts Ford Thunderbird in the final against the guy who's leading the points chase, who would like to put a leg up on him. Oswald has his work cut out for him, but the world champion has proved himself time and time again equal to the task. Will the combination of Federle and McCulloch overcome the incredibly productive team of Candies, Hughes, and Mark Oswald? Preparation is at an end. Now it's time to drag race. Oswald goes into the pre-stage beams. Here comes McCulloch. They wait side by side. And now Oswald stages first. McCulloch moving in right beside him. It's time to drag race. Out of the chute they go. Good start. McCulloch goes out into the lane. Looks like Candies and Hughes are broke. McCulloch wins the bracket. And he also sets a new top speed of the meet. 265.17 for Funny Cars on a 5:54 lap. And at the starting line, the Miller High Life Racing Team go into post-race joy as Bernie Federle takes a look down the race course as he knows his driver has put a significant leg up on all the followers in Funny Car Eliminator. Here's Pat with the ace.
This was a long weekend. You had to fight a lot of weather and just a lot of work just to get to the finals here.
You know, it was a tough week. You know, we came in, you know, we're on the road a lot anyway, but we came in, everything was, you know, cool, got our work done. The heat set in, and it really knocks the wind out of you, you know, but, you know, Bernie and Corey and Jason and John and Chris, all the guys, I mean, they all worked real hard, and, you know, we're just happy for, you know, Miller and our Oldsmobile folks here in town that we could win this race.
McCulloch's win gives him a substantial lead over Mark Oswald in the national championship point standings. Scott Kalita, John Force, and Darrell Lamberson round out the top 5, but the race is far from over with 5 events remaining on the IHRA trail.
The crowd obviously likes the action, and now we're going to talk with final round first-timer in Top Fuel, Rudy Tofke.
You go to the final against Gene Snow, and he's been on a roll this year. You got your work cut out for you.
We sure have. I mean, he's hard to beat. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, we just got a chance. We're not going to count it over till, we're at the finish line. I mean, we're going to give it all we got. We're hopping the motor up. We've just been having a lot of trouble blowing the tires off. We got the horsepower, and we've got it cut back. Against snow, we got to just turn it loose. I mean, nothing else we can do. I mean, we either blow him off or he outruns us, or we just luck out and get a happy medium and maybe get around him. We never know.
Two storylines in this race, the weather and these two lanes up here. It appears that left lane's a little quicker.
Well, if it is, he'll have it, I'm sure of that.
There's a sign that talks about what's going on here this weekend as a new generation drag racer dreams of his future. Coming up, Top Fuel Eliminator Final for the Motorcraft Northern Nationals. Northern Nationals, Milan Dragway, Milan, Michigan, while we look at Rudy Topke in his freshman year in Top Fuel Eliminator in his first Top Fuel Eliminator Final against this man, Gene Snow.
Well, Rudy Topke's performances here this weekend have been exceptional. Only the second man over 270 miles an hour this weekend, and as a matter of fact, within a few hundredths of a second of Gene Snow's best efforts. But bear in mind, the Snowman has been literally unbeatable for the last 6 weeks in championship drag racing, and Rudy Topke's going to have to come up with a major, major upset.
If Topke's going to beat Snow, he's going to have to do it on the starting line. And Snow, if Topke is ahead of him, has not yet run his car all the way through the finish line. I think Snow's top speed in competition so far is under 248 miles per hour. So potentially Snow has another 22 miles per hour at a very critical point on the course to pass Topke if the Arkansas racer is able to hole shot the world champion.
Well, if you base Gene Snow's past performances in the last few weeks at over 282 miles per hour in this program, he's got almost 40 miles per hour of horsepower that he's not utilizing. However, Gene Snow is always shooting, as Pat Patterson found, and I think Gene Snow right now is happy with the mid 5.2 second run consistency he has found. But he's got to be shaken a little bit here, John. Gene Snow knows that there's a young man with an awful lot of enthusiasm in the other lane who can run 520s.
See, the thing that Snow knows about the other guys in the field is how they drag race and what they do. I think the thing a top fuel drag racer fears most about a freshman is you just never know what that guy might do when he comes to the starting line. So if there's any thought process going through Gene Snow's mind at this point, I mean, he knows he's together. Chris Eckert has got that car running beautifully. Snow's got a good tuning combination in. What's the other guy going to do? So if there's any blank in Snow's game plan, he just doesn't know enough about how Rudy Topke drag races.
Therefore, all he can do is cut the best possible reaction time and try and run another 520 effort. Inching forward in the last few moments before the most prestigious championship battle of the day gets underway, they leave the starting line, and Gene Snow makes a mockery of the battle, driving away from Topke with the quickest run in the history of this drag strip. 5.20 seconds, but still at only 247 miles per hour. On the replay, you can see Snow carrying the front wheels as Rudy Topke and Gene Snow left virtually at the exact same time. The Snowman thunders away, and Pat Patterson's with him at the finish line.
Well, let's hear it for the old guys. Gene Snow, a good run this afternoon. You had lane choice, and things went your way.
Yeah, it was the best lane. We were real happy to have been there. The car got a little bit loose down there in the middle, but it did what we wanted. Got the good ET. Good show, guys. Great. You know, everything was just like we wanted. Everything was kind of just like on a computer. We're kind of lucky.
It's been a hard week. This week has not been easy on anybody. The heat and then the guessing here on Sunday with the weather.
Yeah, it had you guessing. You had to check your gauges all the time, figure out how to tune the things, but it worked out fine.
This is an incredible year. I mean, you just keep on rolling.
Yeah, we hope it keeps up like this. We'd like to get a couple of championships.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
So the Snowman begins the congratulatory process of the entire crew, and a good handshake coming up for his crew chief, Chris Eckert. The Snowman, another top fuel round, puts him way out in the lead against Joe Amato, John Kerry, Dennis Forssell, and Jack Ostrander. For many of the racers here, Bret, I think what we're going to see is this. The World Nationals last part of the month of August is going to be catch 'em or forget it time.
Well, indeed, that race is always a turning point in the chase for a world championship on the IHRA National Event Series Trail. And this year is going to be no different. But bear in mind that a lot of the people who are behind in the current World Championship point standings always do tremendously well at Norwalk. Mark Oswald was in the final round there 5 years in a row in dragsters and funny cars. Here's Pat Patterson with his thoughts.
Well, gentlemen, the big winners here again are the same guys that started off this great IHRA season in a fashionable way. Gene Snow in the top fuel division, Ed McCullough in the funny car division, and Ricky Smith. Once again, 3 veterans come out victorious here at Milan, Michigan. Our next race will be at Norwalk, Ohio. Sun's almost down here. It's time to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed it here on ESPN.
This IHRA Championship drag race has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tire.